Welcome to the Firehouse, the show dedicated to the brave men and women who serve our community.
Welcome. How's everybody feeling today? I am your host, Chris Moses, and today, sitting with me in the Firehouse is Lamont Evans. This is Truck 4. You know what? I don't even want to give the entrance. Truck 4 Uniondale, but I want to let you give who you are. Talk to us, Lamont.
Okay, well, who I am, I guess it's a lot to that. But as far as the fire department goes, I am a member of Uniondale Fire Department Truck Company number 4. Basically, in the Uniondale Fire Department, you have 4 companies. You have Rescue Company 1, you have Engine Company number 2, you have another Engine Company number 3, and then you got Truck 4.
There you go.
We're the only truck company in Uniondale Fire Department, and I got about 30 years there. 31, actually.
31 years.
Yeah,
Bro. That's a long time, man.
Yeah.
We got a lot to talk about. We got a lot to talk about because 31 years is... Wow. So first, before we even get into, we said 31 years, what ranks have you held as a volunteer fireman?
Okay. Well, I've held the rank of 2nd lieutenant, 1st lieutenant, captain, emergency medical technician, and Disaster Preparedness Committee chairperson, co-chairperson.
That's good. I want to ask a little bit more about the disaster preparedness. But before we go into that, 31 years, that is That's a long time.
It is. I mean, when you think about it, some people at 31 have kids,
right?
And I got 31 years
in the service.
Yeah.
So,
I see a lot of members around me that, it's weird to say this, but, I was in before they were even born. A lot of the people that I'm responding to calls with and doing all what we call God's work with, I was in the department doing this before they were even born, years before they were even born.
Even before they was even thought of.
Yeah, so it's crazy to even when you think about it like that. And I feel pretty good. I feel young, so, I feel like I'm almost their age. I relate to the younger guys a little bit pretty good because I just interact with them and we're pretty cool. And I like to hang out with them. It makes me feel young. But then when I think about it, I'm like, damn, I've been doing this before you was born.
Before you was born.
Yeah, I have gear. I have equipment
gear
that's older than them.
That's crazy. That is so crazy. But so before, we really get into it, I need to know 31 years. Right. That's a long time. What makes a person want to become a fireman, especially a volunteer fireman? So I want to know from the beginning, 31 years, how you started, what made you even say, hey, I want to join the fire department, and to where you are now.
Well, I couldn't tell you about anybody else, but I could tell you about me. I grew up in Uniondale. Well, maybe that's not obvious, but, I moved to Uniondale at a very young age in elementary school. And I lived right around the corner from a pretty busy street, which is Jerusalem Avenue, one of the major streets that run through Uniondale. And like we all did, I live on a dead-end block. And, as a kid, we'd be out and playing on the block in front of the house, riding our bikes, doing this and that, playing stickball in the street, whatever it is. And I would hear an accident or something around the corner on Jerusalem Avenue, a car accident. And I always wanted to know what was going on, so I'd always run around the corner. Typically, sometimes at that intersection where I lived with Jerusalem and Bedford, I live right around the corner from there, it'd be a pretty significant auto accident. I remember one time when I was really young, there was literally a car on top of another car. Wow. Like literally, I'm not really sure exactly how it happened, but one car ended up on top of another car. I remember a guy got hit by a car one time. I ran around the street to see that. Thank goodness he lived. But, as a young kid seeing that, I thought I had seen my first, dead body. Just the way he was.
Age range, what do you think? Around what age were you? You saying young kid. Around what age?
I was probably,
these accidents.
Well, yeah, I moved to Uniondale around 10, so it had to be 11, 12. between 10 and 18. Really, because 18 is when I started seeing all of these things for myself when I joined the fire department. But yeah, and anything that there was a fire and if I would hear the sirens going off, I'd always try to chase down wherever they were going and try to find what fire or whatever emergency they were responding to And that was just typical of me. I mean, I was like one of the only kids in my block. There'd be like 8 of us out there in front of the house playing, and I take off on my bike going to trying to find out where the accident is or where the sirens are going.
Yep. Okay.
So that was always me. Oh, and then so I, got a little bit older, started working, and I worked at the Dairy Barn, which is right across the street from the headquarters. It's not there anymore. It's a strip mall now. But there used to be a Dairy Barn on the corner of Hempstead Boulevard and Uniondale Avenue. And the Dairy Barn is basically where the cars drive through. They tell you,
I actually remember that Dairy Barn.
Oh, yeah. They say, give me a loaf of bread and some milk and some ice cream. And you you bring it out to the car. They give you the money, you make their change. So I worked there, and I remember the horns going off.
That's right. Trucks right there. Yeah.
Right. Seeing the cars, members responding to the firehouse, pulling in, flying, turning, screeching tires, pulling into the parking lot, running into the firehouse. A couple seconds later, the fire truck's pulling out on the ramp. Guys are jumping on the truck, and me standing there wondering where are they going, what's going on,
how's this happening, like what,
why, where are they going, what's so emergency, and so fast forward maybe a few years, I'm in high school, I'm in class, and I hear this noise go off in the classroom, a sound I had never heard before. And I'm like looking around the classroom, and one of my classmates.
And this is in
high school, right? So
so this is in high school. So this is you're a senior now.
I'm a senior now.
Okay.
I'm a senior now in high school, and I hear this weird noise going off, and I hear somebody talking over a microphone like a police radio, and I'm like,
what?
So I look at one of my classmates, Eric Vasquez, and he gets up and he bolts out of class. And I'm like, what in the world was that?
First of all, what can make you jump up and get out of class?
And how is it that you can even leave class? And like, what emergency is going, So I asked him the next time I saw him, I'm like, yo, what happened? He goes, I'm a fireman, because he was 18 at the time. Mm-hmm. And I guess he was in his senior year as well. And he was like, yeah, I'm a fireman. I'm like, you're a fireman? How you a fireman? Like, he was like, oh, yeah, you could join too. So at the time I was 17. His birthday was before mine. And he was like, yeah, I'm in the truck company right there. And I was like, oh, the one at the headquarters right there. But the one that I looked at when I worked over there at the Dairy Barn. So I started going down there, and I was 17. My birthday's in December. And I spoke with the lieutenant, and he was like, you could join, right now you're under 18, so you got to join the juniors. And then after you join the juniors, then once you turn 18, you immediately come in. And I said, well, I don't want to be a junior. I want to be the real thing. And that's no disrespect to the juniors. I admire everything that they do, and it takes a lot.
But you were older, and juniors start at like the age of 13 or 14.
They start at 13, they go to 18, then they go to a company. And I wanted to go straight to the because I asked him, I said, do they go in the fire? He was like, no, they can't go in the fire.
Yeah, so
I said, well, I want to go in the fire. I want hands on. So my 18th birthday rolled around in December. And then I started going out to the firehouse every Sunday, and then application, investigation, and
good
then
stuff, all of that,
right? And then sworn in, and then going to fires.
And you're in there.
Going to fires.
You are in there. That's a dope story, because that's the first time I've heard that, where somebody was in class. I didn't even know you could do that. You could leave class. So for our listeners, I don't know if you can actually do that. All of our 18-year-old listeners don't think that you could just leave class, and that's the reason why you want to join, so you could jump up and hop up. But I didn't know that, but it makes sense, because I joined when I was 25, so I wasn't in school, but a lot of the guys do join 17, 18. Right. So I mean, I can imagine if there is something rocking, and when you're a senior, at the end, you may have they're not even real
like
classes.
A couple of classes.
You could leave early anyway. So,
and also keep in mind, I mean, you have to get permission from your guidance counselor that your grades are up to par, that they're even going to allow you to be excused from class, so that's really the situation with him. He had the situation where, and then I was actually in that same situation as well, because like I said, my birthday was in December. I got sworn in March.
So you still
we didn't graduate till June. So from March to June, me and Eric's pages was going off in class, and we were both running out of class. And it was exciting. I had a car in my senior year of high school, so we jump in the same car, run to the firehouse, jet down to the firehouse,
and it's right there. You straight shot down Goodrich, make that left, and you're right there, right
there. Yep.
Look at that. All right, so I want to know a typical day at truck company, right? Now, we all know everyone that's listening is usually a volunteer fireman or anything like that or looking to join. Sunday is our day. Sunday is when we do stuff, right? So run me through a typical day at truck, the time it starts, what happens on that Sunday.
Okay, well, on Sundays, usually the newer members are responsible for coming down. Newer members and the chauffeurs, the mechanics, because every truck has a mechanic.
Okay.
They're not the kind of typical mechanic that you think of. Most of the listeners are thinking, oh, mechanic, they actually, work on the engine. No, not really. They more check the mechanics of the truck to make sure, in our particular case, the ladder's operating, the pumps are working correctly, the cans are full, the water cans, Ansel cans, the fire suppression equipment.
Okay.
The radios are working. So the mechanics of the trucks check those items, and the probationary members, they come down and they assist in the checking of the vehicles, checking of the equipment. I did mention the breathing apparatus. If I didn't, well, I'm doing it now.
Yeah.
They check the breathing apparatus and the cans and make sure those things are filled. All the in our case, we're the truck company, so we have saws that have to make sure that they're operational. They're filled with fuel. And during the summer months, they make sure that we have a cooler on our truck with ice, so they fill those things up and just go over the truck and equipment and their own equipment. Oh, so
and then from there, so that's the morning,
right? So they have to respond to the Firehouse 9 a.m. on Sunday mornings to go through the equipment. Usually takes about an hour and a half, 2 hours. So you figure around 10, 11, we're looking to start training. 11:30, we look to go out and do some kind of training. It really is up to the training lieutenant what he kind of wants to focus on that day. Sometimes it's putting up ladders in our particular company. Okay. Sometimes it's forced entry. Sometimes it's firefighter removal or victim removal.
Okay. Now, are you doing this all at the firehouse? Or
sometimes it's at the firehouse. Sometimes we'll go out to an abandoned structure and place ladders up.
Okay.
Because that's a very important aspect of our job is proper ladder placement.
Yeah.
Knowing how to raise a ladder, how to lower a ladder. Believe it or not, I mean, raising a ladder, a lot of people don't think about, you just put a ladder up. Not really. You got to know how to carry a ladder. You got to know how to, without injuring yourself or someone else, and then, raising a ladder, you don't want to raise it up into power lines because, we have metal. Ladders are made of metal. They're a very good conductor of electricity. Mm-hmm. We actually have a member of your company who was electrocuted years ago raising a ladder.
At the
Howie Bundock.
Place. Yeah, right. I remember that. I heard about that.
He's still affected by that to this day.
You're right.
We're talking 40 years ago.
Yeah, so it's definite training, knowing that. And I was an engine guy, so maybe he didn't get the right training.
Howie should be proud of me. I just mentioned him on the radio. Who would have thought we would have got
Hammer.
there, right? Yeah.
We ain't going to talk about how he got the name Hammer. We're not going to talk about this. This is a radio station, so we cannot talk about how he got the name Hammer.
I have an idea.
But listen, 31 years in the service, you got some memorable stuff.
Yeah.
I know you got. So I'm going to need at least one or two stories of some stuff you remember. We're going to start with me because I remember a story. I want to say, I think it was my first fire. Mm-hmm. My first fire ever on Dale Place. And you fell through from the
Christmas Day 2008.
That was my first fire.
You know what's funny? When you asked me for a memorable story, I wasn't even thinking about that.
It's crazy. It's crazy. You didn't think about when you fell from the second floor down to the basement.
To the basement, right.
So I'm in there. We're doing it. I think the fire's out. We're just overhauling. We're doing that, getting smoke.
It was still a considerable amount of smoke. I mean, it was putting water on the fire. And then
I'm right here, and I remember.
Yeah, and I pretty much took the express elevator, down to the basement from the second floor. Yeah.
Mayday start going on. Mayday.
Yeah, and
so tell me about leading up to that, because I've never asked you that. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, well, I was conducting a search of the second floor. I entered through a window into the second floor, and it was pretty smoky up there. And I think I took a step back, and there was no floor behind me, and I just fell straight down into the basement. I remember landing it felt like very softly. I remember saying to myself, I don't know if you have to edit that, but it was one of those moments.
Yeah.
And when I landed, I must have landed in the perfect spot. It seemed like it was cushioned and padded, which I know is not the experience of most firefighters who
Yeah,
take
because
the
you're also
express.
landing on your cylinder.
I landed on my side.
Okay.
And it was like when I was able to get my bearing and see exactly where I was only inches away in all directions from landing on something, whether it be a beam, a pipe, or anything like that, something that could have injured me. And I remember, I think I even landed on like some sheetrock and like some insulation, believe it or not. So the insulation,
Sick.
I mean, I don't know if it's safe, whatever, but I was really not injured at all. But I do remember immediately when I landed and I heard the maydays, and I said to myself, "Oh, damn, those are for me."
Is it?
And you never really want to hear a mayday for you. I mean, I guess it's better than not hearing it. But
That's what I was gonna say. But
you don't want to be that guy. You don't want to be that
the
guy
fireman in
that
you.
they're calling maydays for.
But
And
me,
it wasn't even me
mind
calling
you, I
a mayday.
just fell from the second floor. Please don't call a mayday for me.
And I didn't realize, it took me a second to realize even where I was. Because, when I landed, I'm like, kind of jarred, like, okay, what just happened? Look around a little bit. And that's when I said, I'm in the basement. I'm like, how did, and then, and I remember, a couple of guys saying, "Oh, I got you, brother. I got you, brother."
I remember them literally sticking their hand down there trying to pull you up.
Darrell Riddick, Darrell.
Right, Darrell Riddick.
Yeah, Darrell and Renan was there, and a couple of guys.
We talked about it on his show when he was here.
Oh yeah,
we had talked about it. He said he remembers that.
Yeah. So they pulled me out. I believe it was through a basement window. One of those. It was a large window, if I remember correctly. I made my way over to a window, and they kind of pulled me out through the window, basement window. But it was a larger window, like emergency exit window. That's if I remember correctly, because everything was happening kind of quickly. But that's how.
John fell that day too. John Skelly.
Oh, did he? Joe Rodriguez fell that day. That same fire.
Everybody.
Joe Rodriguez went through the floor as well, but he went up to like his armpits. He went through the floor, and he was on the first floor, and he fell through, and he ended up like on his armpits, and they pulled him out.
Up.
Yeah, he didn't go all the way through like I did. So
wow. So it's crazy that wasn't your most memorable. No, because now what is one of your most memorable?
Well, obviously 9/11, comes to mind. So, I would have to say that.
I mean, we don't have much time, but I need you to run through a little bit of that.
Yeah, I'll try.
No one yet on this show has talked about being a volunteer fireman and responding to 9/11.
Yeah, no.
So if you can just, give us a quick,
right.
How was that?
Yeah. Well, I'll try and go quickly. I worked for Nassau County, and I was working that day. Myself and Gene Laurent, who you've had on this show.
Yeah.
He was my partner with me at work, and we were in Wantor. And our radios in the truck only have AM radio.
Okay.
So we only listen to the news all day. So the first report of a plane hitting a tower came in over the radio. Breaking news, we have this new plane just hit the tower, South Tower, I believe it was, the World Trade Center, and, smoke is seen billowing, blah, blah, blah. So we're hearing this over the radio, and we're like, what in the world is going on? Mm-hmm. So we try to... we was in Wantor, so we stopped at one of the Wantor firehouses, and nobody was coming to the door. I guess nobody was in there. I'm not really sure what. So because I told Gene, I said, we got to find the TV. We got to see what's going on. So couldn't get in there to find the TV. Looked somewhere else to go try and find the TV, and shortly thereafter, our pagers alerted. All available manpower report to your respective quarters. So we said, okay, we'll ditch that. We'll start heading back into Uniondale. So we get down by the Southern State Parkway, and Southern State Parkway is not moving, and you're seeing chiefs on the side, on the dirt and grass, chiefs cars heading towards Manhattan, all the way out in Wantor.
Wow.
Yeah, like a volunteer fire chief from somewhere was flying towards Manhattan on the dirt, on the grass. And Gene and I decided to do the same thing. So we jumped on the dirt and grass on the side. We headed back into town. Mm-hmm. We got back to, but before we even made it back into town, the reports of a second plane hitting another tower. And that was when, it was no question that this was intentional. Yeah. This was not an accident. This is intentional. And, so, feelings, emotions are going on. I'm wondering how many people, are in there, how many people are injured, how many, we got back, and then we said, okay, let's take this vehicle, our work truck, because we work for the county. Let's take our work truck back to the station. So at that time, when our station was out of in Mitchell Field,
Okay.
which is still in the Uniondale Fire District. So we get back there, and we have a bunch of members.
We're good.
We have a bunch of members that are firefighters. At that time, we had like 7 or 8 of us were all firemen.
Okay.
I'm talking about, Darnell, Renan,
Everybody,
Paulie was there. I'm talking about in my job where I'm assigned. So, for the listeners, I can go through a bunch of names, but
you're good. See that one?
Yeah, I'm plugging.
There you go. That's good. Keep going.
Yeah. So we told our boss, look, we're being alerted. We got to respond, whatever. So we left work, and I got back to my firehouse. We were waiting orders on exactly, what our assignments were going to be, what we were doing, and that was in the lobby. I'm sorry, not in the lobby, in the lounge of my firehouses where I saw the first tower collapse.
Wow.
And and then. Eventually, orders came in. We're responding to the towers, and we responded. I actually drove the rig down there. Yeah, we took what we call we used to call it the bread truck. It was a personnel transport vehicle.
Yep, I remember.
Right. So we used to call it the bread truck because it looks like a hostess bread truck. But it's outfitted.
So that's what you drove out there.
I drove that down to the towers. Okay. Right through the Midtown
Tunnel. How
long
long were you down there for? So
we were down there for a couple of days. They rotated some crews out.
So you went down there, came back home, went back.
Right. So there were some guys. So some guys did go down, come back. Some guys stayed down. So
did they have places for you to stay if you
no,
were staying
we stayed on the rubble. We stayed on the pile. We took what they call R&R when we could, get your eyes flushed out, stuff like that, because there was a lot of so I remember, when we got down there, it was it looked like it was snowing, and there was so much ash coming from the skies
that it was like, wow.
that it looked like it was snowing down there.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that definitely, I would think, is the most memorable. That's why that shadowed you falling through the.
I mean, because my hopes were to find someone, alive and help rescue someone, and then very shortly, it didn't take long for me to just hope to get a full body intact.
Yeah.
Which and that didn't happen either.
Yeah.
As soon as we got there, we started digging on the pile, and unfortunately, it was a half a woman that we pulled out of the pile, and we didn't even find the other half of her.
And that brings me into, I guess, a little bit of another thing, because that's something that people don't realize. That thing that goes on with firemen, you're seeing a lot of stuff, and that does, no matter what, we're still humans. That affects you. Was there any type of therapy? Was there anything that was offered to you for that at the time?
I'm sure there were, but I didn't, seek any therapy. But
it is offered.
It does weigh on you a little bit. It was pretty heavy.
Yeah.
I was in my 20s. I think I was 26 maybe at the time.
Okay.
23, 20. I think I was 26. Yeah.
Yeah. So I know that definitely weighs on you. And for our listeners, people that want to join and stuff like that, when situations like that happen, I remember situations that happened with me, and it could be more progressive, because as time went on, we realized that firemen needed more. This is back in, 2001. So things are different now. So that therapy will be there for you if needed.
It's funny. And you asked me, yes, they do have many outlets.
Yeah. This is an outlet right here.
It is talking about it. I've talked about it a bunch of times over the years. So that's therapeutic. But it's funny because
so listen, those are like I know you had some good stories. 31 years, and I'm pretty sure you have
a ton. Yeah, I mean, I went through probably 4 or 5 just now.
I love it. So I still got some more questions for you though. So I got some more questions for you. First question is, what is a common myth, right, about firefighters that you want to debunk right now to our listeners? That say, talk to me.
No, cats and trees, man. Look, come on. I don't think in my 31 years, I don't think I've ever taken a cat out of a tree.
Never heard send Firecom to the Uniondale Fire Department for a cat in a tree.
Not that I can remember. I'll be honest with you. I can't recall, but you know what? It's pretty common. That's a pretty common myth.
But that doesn't happen. That's
no,
cartoons.
but look,
I've never seen it at all.
No, I mean, I've saved a lot and saved a lot of animals in fires.
But that was at a fire.
And, unfortunately, some that didn't make it, but not
Never
a cat in a tree. No, I mean, I've had birds. We had a parrot. We've had dogs, cats.
But never calling me for a cat in the tree.
No.
All right, so really quick. Our listeners are people that are firemen, or people that are volunteers, or people that volunteer firemen, or people that want to join. What is a quick nugget of advice you'd give to someone that wants to join, or someone that just started?
All right. Well, someone who wants to join, I'll tell you, it's probably one of the best things that I've ever done in my entire 49 years. I almost said 41. I almost lied to everybody. My entire 49 years on this planet, it's the best thing I've ever done. I mean, when you think about the camaraderie, you think about, I guess brotherhood and camaraderie go hand in hand. You think about some of the, I want to say, kind of perks a little bit. The way that your family and friends and neighbors look at you. They look at you differently.
Yeah.
Just any volunteer, really.
Yeah.
It looks great on a resume.
Servant leadership is a real thing.
I mean, and it does help you to build those skills, those leadership skills. If you're ever put in a position where you need to lead, people, and that's going to happen more than likely. The longer you're in, the more likely it is that you're going to be in a position where you need to lead people.
That's right.
I would have said, lead men, but that's not really what we have these days. Now it's men, women, and some we don't even know what they are, but
but they're there.
they're out there somewhere. But no. So yeah, I would say do it. If you're interested in it, do it. It's the best thing you probably ever do for yourself in your entire life. And there's a lot of opportunities that come with it. I mean, everybody in the firehouse does, in the volunteer firehouse, or even in the paid fire departments, everybody has something else that they do.
Yep.
Like, especially in the volunteers, we all have our careers somewhere, whether it
Plus,
be
things we do on the side.
Things that we do on the side, right? So whether it be, in my particular case, we had a commissioner that was a county commissioner, the fire department commissioner who was a county commissioner, who got a lot of guys their jobs.
Yeah.
You have a lot of people that are involved in the town, maybe officials, or any kind of government entity. A lot of times you'll find people who are in the fire department who also have their careers in other government agencies, right? Yeah. Also, like you said, white collar, blue collar jobs. You'll have a guy who's, or maybe this is more blue collar, but you'll have a guy who's a plumber. You'll have a guy who's, so look, if you're looking for work, you can there's gonna be work.
You're
talk to some of the guys around the fire. Hey, you need a hand, maybe a carpenter or something like that. He could use an assistant, apprentice, whatever it is. So yeah, that also, we do have a pension. So after 5 years, you're vested in the pension. So you're guaranteed money when you each reach eligibility to collect. Okay. So, and all you have to do is 5 years and you're vested. So there are also grants that they have, so you can go to school for free. Yep. Nassau Community College is a grant that you can apply for, which is very easy to get. Now you can
tons of people.
I've done it myself. Yeah. You can get this grant. It's called the SAFER grant. You apply for it through the Office of Emergency Management. They have a liaison over there that can set you up. It's very easy. If you're a volunteer fireman, you go to school for free. You can get an associate's degree. I mean, if that's not an incentive, a free education. I mean, what's better? What's
to then do something that feels good to do anyway.
And you feel good. And there's also tax break. So if you own a home, you can apply for
10% off of your general taxes.
You can apply for your tax credit. So
That's
I
right.
get that
So
as well.
These for our listeners, these are all of the reasons why if you are thinking about it, you should do this. Or if you're start inquiring about these things. Reach out to your captain, to your lieutenant, and start talking to them about these things.
I probably missed a bunch of stuff. I mean,
there's probably so much more.
It's a long list. I mean, just
let them get in and learn.
Yeah. I mean, the feeling that you get from helping somebody, you can't compare that to anything.
To nothing.
You really can't. I mean, if you save a life, or you're just involved in just helping somebody on their worst day, it makes you feel good.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, so listen, before we get out of here, we play a game here. We play a game.
We just started.
We play a game. Yeah, no.
No, we got time,
we
man.
still got a lot.
Let's go.
So we play a game before we get out of here. The game is called the flashover. Okay? Really quick, for our listeners, what is a flashover?
Okay, well, a flashover is when all of the combustibles in a room ignite at the same time. So the room gets hot enough to where everything in the room combusts.
And it's quick. Boom. It happens real quick like that. All right. So that is the premise of this game. I'm going to ask you two different things. I may say Android or iPhone. And you got to tell me which one you like.
Oh, man, I'm not a quick thinker. You're going to have to edit this.
All right. So really quick, I'm going to ask them. You
Android.
tell me. Well, we're going to be doing movies and TV shows. Okay?
Oh, boy. Geez.
All right. Are you ready?
No.
You ready for the flashover?
Nope.
You got this. You got it.
All right.
All right. Here we go. Chicago Fire, Rescue Me.
I don't watch either.
Don't watch either. Boom. Well, I was going to say Rescue Me or Third Watch.
I've seen a little Third Watch, so I'd have to say Third Watch.
Third Watch. Backdraft or Ladder 49?
Backdraft.
Backdraft. All right. The most important question I'm going to ask you today. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Engine or truck?
Truck. Come on. That's like a softball, man. You threw me like a softball.
I had to pitch that over.
Yeah, that's an underhand. That was an underhand pitch.
Right
that
to
was
you.
Easy. That was too easy.
All right. So one last question for you. And you kind of touched on this already, but I want you to just kind of sum it up really quick. So how has being a volunteer fireman changed your life in a whole?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, I wouldn't have the job that I have now if it wasn't for it.
Okay.
So, I could say that. I think I touched on it. It looks great on the resume. A lot of doors open up for you when you're a volunteer and a volunteer fireman at that. I mean, it takes a special kind of person to run into a burning building.
That's right. All right. So listen, I want to say thank you for coming down to the Firehouse, talking, tell them about your life.
Well,
brother.
It's been an honor and a privilege to be here. I mean, it really has.
We just heard from Lamont Evans. He is in Truck 4 in Uniondale. It was about his life as a firefighter. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. Please like, share, subscribe. I am your host, Chris Moses, and tune in next week for another great conversation in the Firehouse.